and a lot of people haven't got them. And that's the big problem for a lot of people. There's some real precise pinpoint parts. Hey LinkedIn, hey YouTube, hey Facebook, hey Insta. We're just waiting for the crew to go live on the old Clubhouse. But the big problem we've got at the moment for a lot of people is with lead generation, they are not doing things in the right way. Simple things, like real simple things that a lot of people are not doing. And it's not the fact that people are intentionally not doing them. A lot of people don't even know to do them, or they haven't got them in a real clear, a real concise way that makes a big difference in their business. There's a lot of real simple things that a lot of people are not doing that take you from where you're at now to that next stage. And that's what we're aiming to do, to hang around on what we're doing. It's gone live now on there. And we've got to make sure, if you are not doing things effectively, we can't expect to get the results that we want. For the vast majority of people now, when we start a business, when we start doing a process, when we have a program, when we start selling, when we do any of that, we have an initial panic moment where we just try and get deals in. We have a high sense of urgency. We don't have a polished skill set. We don't have polished strategies. We don't have polished processes. Then we end up 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, and we realize that we're still doing things in a very similar way. What I'm aiming to be able to do over the space of the next 2 months is we're going to strip back the foundations. We're going to really align it so that you can look at each section within what you're doing, all the things that are really helpful, and help you get clearly aligned foundations that you can use within the business. Some of this stuff is about mindset. Some of it is about skill set. Some of it's about practical actions that we have to have right. Because if we don't get them right, what we end up doing is we just end up missing the mark. And that doesn't help you. It doesn't help me. It doesn't get you in the best possible place. And the big problem that we're going to end up having is deals are not made by a 100% slam dunk, home run, swinging of the bat. Most deals are made with a combination of 5 to 15 different things that you've done really well. And if we haven't got all these foundations done in the right way, what ends up happening is we end up missing the mark. And what I want us to do is to really get you to that stage. And I want people to think about this. For the vast majority of people that's out there, we're in a place right now in our business, whether it's good, bad, whether it's great, whether it's terrible, wherever you are right now is based around the knowledge, the processes, the steps that you've actually got. So we're going to get live now. Morning! Yeah, I'm really good. Thank you very much. Life is manic, crazy, busy, but yeah, really exciting as well. So yeah, looking forward to getting into this today.
Fabulous. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
So what they do is we're setting up the room. Morning, Gary. So we're just getting the room set up. In the same way with the Yam one, it's a different crowd, it's a different audience. It's a different crowd, different audience. And the idea behind this is to give us as many different exposures for within your business. If you're at the stage now and you're going to say it to one person, that's cool. But part of this lead generation side, the idea, if we can spread that across, it's going to make it so much easier.
conversation around
It's really, really important. What we're doing right now is exactly that.
If you would please mind everyone, it would be great if you could click the little plus button at the bottom and just ping in a few people to join us. Or if you feel like it, bottom left, you can share this room to your hallway and let all of your friends know that you are in here, and it's a great place to be. So, David, the mic is yours.
Thanks, Lauren. Right, well, very quickly, because we've got plenty of things that are going on over here today. Morning, Elliot. I hope you guys are all well. So the plan today is simply this. We're talking about lead generation. Now, the idea behind this is not just the fact to try and teach people to suck eggs. The deals that we get within our business are based around the actions that we take. And the actions that we take are based around the knowledge that we have. So the aim today with you guys on Clubhouse, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube is we're going to go down a little bit more of a rabbit hole in a bit more detail on some of the precise trainings that we can use to get it to that stage. But very quickly, as we've got Elliot here, we've got Lauren here, do you have any quick tips that you'd like to share about lead generation, or shall I just get on with it?
I'm more than happy to take a back seat and listen in, David. And maybe I'll have something to comment later on. But I'm here to learn from you.
Coolio. Well, we might as well just jump straight into it. So anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about today, we're talking about lead generation. We're going to break down some of it into more clinical, precise areas. And the reasons being behind it is simply this. Whenever I end up going off into a business, one of the first things that we typically will see is there are blind spots within the business. Now, look at it like this. When you first set up a business, typically it's, get it set up, get things going, get first client, get this done, get that done. So we end up getting small and precise things moving in the right way that can get us moving forward. But often that isn't necessarily what the dream was, what the vision was, and we're not necessarily operating at the highest possible level that we can. This life that we get, and I'm a massive believer of this, if we've got our own business, our own venture, or your own company, or even if you work in a company, if you're going to spend your time doing something, what we want to do is we want to tune up the skills that we've got. We want to tune up the actions that we take. We want to tune up all the little points that's going to turn us from being where we are now to that next level. And one of the key things that we look about, we all talk about the big fancy skills and all the big fancy tools. But what I want us to think about is some of the simple steps within our lead generation. Whether we're talking on Clubhouse, whether we're on Instagram, whether we're on LinkedIn, whether we're on YouTube, one of the big things we've got to think about, and this is something which I'd love to put out to people to come back to later on. If you're on a social media a lot and you're saying you're doing it for lead generation, I'm generating leads, I'm building my brand. What I want to ask is this. If I took your last 28 days of work that you spent on social media when you were generating leads, if someone else was paid by you to do that very role, to do the very things that you did, how would you class their performance? Would you be pleased with the amount of leads that they generated for you? Would you be pleased with the increase in brand awareness? Would you be pleased with all the little steps that they put in? Now, I ask this as a harsh question because when someone said it to me, it hit me like a stone in the side of the head, like a brick, more like. Because I suddenly thought, hang on a minute. If I'm on Clubhouse throughout the day, for example, for 5 hours, how many leads that turn into potential clients does that generate? And then suddenly we start looking at it and going, okay, well, actually, if I had a staff member doing that exact same thing, how would I feel their performance is? Over the last 6 months, for example, if they had done all the social media stuff that you've done in your life, how much has that revenue, how much revenue has been brought into the business based around those activities? Because we've got to get real intentional about it. And I think we have to look at ourselves from almost the out-of-body experience. We need to play a cam ourselves and go, okay, well, those activities there, if that wasn't me doing it, but it was a staff member, would I value the way they've gone about it? And the aim today is to break that down. So we're going to cover a couple of quick steps. Then I'm going to give you a framework of something to think about. And also, I'm going to give you a trio of areas that I really think are important, but a lot of people we talk to don't seem to jump into. So first and foremost, when we're talking about a lead, there's a big difference between a lead and what a prospect is. So let's look at a lead. A lead is a person that indicates that they're potentially interested, potentially have a desire for a company's product or service in some way, at some point, in some form. Now, when you're looking at lead generation methods, they're created by offering something to a potential customer, but instead of giving them, say, a cold call, and that's what used to happen. Leads were generated by a phone call, a mailer, that would get there someone to potentially, in our mind, put our hand up and go, oh, hey, that could work for me. And that's far better than just calling up and having to intrude in people's lives. Same way as if, say, you get a message from your gym about a free session. Hey, it's February. If you're interested in losing 6 pounds in the next 3 months, come and join us for our free PT class. Now, if someone puts their hand up and says, oh, that's for me, you now know that that person's a potential client for what we want. That's far better than just sitting on a phone call, calling up the A to Z saying, hey, do you want to lose some weight? Hey, do you want to lose some weight? And for businesses, we swap their desire or need, and they give us their details. So what we've got to think about is, if with lead generation, we don't just want as many people as possible. What we want to be able to do is find something that's going to communicate a clear enough message so that when we come to qualify these people later, we don't lose a vast majority of people. So if we're looking at what is actual lead generation, it's a process of attracting prospects, clients, buyers into our business through nurturing with an idea of an end goal that's going to turn them actually into a customer. There's a number of different ways that we can deal with lead generation. We can go into that in a second. But the aim is really to find something that's going to attract them into your actual offer, your need, your requirement, or something that you can fulfill them on. Now, dependent on your product or service, depends on the way you would attract your lead generation. Now, the thing I want people to remember, not all leads are created equal. And I'll give you a prime example. For the coaching that we deal with, the very top tier of the company we deal with, we pay up to £50,000 a year. Now, that's a very big difference from the people out there that are paying £200 a month, for example. Now, they all have a need and all have a desire, but imagine for the moment when we're looking at our leads, we've got to really think about it. Now, there's 3 key types of leads that you'll get. So you get a sales qualified lead. So that's someone whose contacts are taken but have expressed an interest in becoming an actual paying customer. So, for example, someone who's going to come from one of our forms. Now, you can move someone like this that isn't qualified out into a nurture sequence. You can focus on smaller, more specific buyers. You can learn all their ins and outs of what they've got. You can increase productivity to get a better revenue. Or we move into something which is more of a product qualified lead. Now, when we're talking about a product qualified lead, these are people who've typically got a trial or something similar, which then there's an option to upgrade. So when they put their hand up, say I could give people free trainings on my platform. They come in as a free trial on a product. That's how we generate the lead. And then once they're in your ecosystem, utilizing some degree of your product or your service, but there's an option in there to upgrade. HubSpot's a great example of this. You could use that as a CRM. But when you're inside, there's a vast amount of upgrades. So then that's more of a product qualified lead. Now, then you've got your marketing qualified lead. Now, these are people who are actually engaging within a marketing effort, but they're not quite ready to receive a sales call. So that could be someone who's gone onto a landing page that's gone to grab some degree of an offer. So what we want to work out is, what are we actually trying to approach? If you've got a marketing qualified lead, that's one of these small and earliest stages that are in there. A product qualified lead, they're technically a customer that just hasn't paid any money, because they're already in your ecosystem. They've got one of your products, they just never handed over any money. Or we've got that sales qualified lead. Now, most people that we walk into a business, we talk about these three areas, and some of you may have already heard of these. The vast majority of the people out there, we say, which of these are you typically focused on? Most don't have a set clear reason of whichever one they're doing. Typically, they've heard some other competitors been doing it. So what we've got to look at this point is when we're focusing on lead generation, one, what is going to get us the highest quality of leads? Now, for example, last year when we were on Clubhouse, we had a product qualified lead. People could gain access. It was free trainings. Literally, they could hit a link, sign up, they get some free trainings. They were on the platform, right? Then they would see on there, you can upgrade for this and you can upgrade for that. What we ended up with was a huge amount. We were talking like 450 people that signed up to that. They're on the platform. We didn't necessarily have any details about them apart from just a name and an email. Most people hadn't put a phone number in. So unless it was going to automatically upgrade them, it wasn't going to be as much of a benefit. So what ends up happening then is you've got hundreds of potential people. You start thinking, well, this is money in the bank. But what we actually did was pivoted to our sales qualified leads, where we find pinpoint information. We're not necessarily just marketing to people, but when they come in and they add their details, we find out before they've had the product or the service, more details about it. Now, this means we have far less leads. Most people expect us to say there's going to be more, but we actually end up with far less leads. But the standard and the quality of those leads is far, far greater. For example, if you've got somebody who logs into your website, they click on a call to action, and straight away they're in on a product, and then you're going, okay, well, we're getting 5 of these a day. It can take you sometimes months to engage with those people, even if you've got the phone number. And as a small business, this can be frustrating to say the least, because on paper, we're getting 5 people a day coming in, which are taking some of our free products. And they could be sometimes a teeth whitening kit. That could be a digital service. It could be an ebook. So when we start thinking, well, we're getting plenty of leads, but actually, unless we're getting a high consistency of people that are going to automatically upgrade into the next stage, it's a bit of a wasted effort, because the monetary and the time value it's going to cost us to retarget those people, to bring them in and manually, unless you're using ads, is going to be one of the biggest damaging parts for a business. We're currently working with a company that's been doing this for a year. They've got over 6,000 people with no pre-qualification process that are all on there. Now, there's a part of us that can think, okay, well, that's great. All you've got to do is nurture them. But if they are not the right end user, if they're not going to be someone that's ever going to ever hand over money for the service, irrelevant of value, that's a wasted exercise. It's a vanity metrics. So what we've got to look at is what's going to be our end result. What are we trying to achieve? If you're a coach, how many actual coaching clients do you want? How many people, for example, if you want to impact lives? Okay, well, actually, something like that's great. A product qualified lead's fine. Because if you're like, okay, well, actually, I don't mind if we have 10,000 people on our product and we impact them all in a small amount, because we're not trying to monetize them for the next 3 years, then it can work really well. But for the majority of businesses, when they're at the early stage, what we want to focus on is more of a sales qualified lead, something which we can work out based on the information that we ask. But when that information comes in, they are far further along that buying process. And then we take that information and we can utilize that to focus on the pain points that our product, our service actually deliver on. So focus on the fact that whether you're looking at a marketing, a sales, or a product qualified lead, and then work out what is our next step once that happens. If you've got data at the moment, look at the data. How many people have come through on our leads, and how many of those people convert into a paying client, and then how many of those clients convert into a high paying client? So for example, if your top tier product is £5,000 and it takes you every 10 people that come from your low ticket product for £100 to convert to that one. But it takes you 500 people on a marketing side to come in. That might only be 5 people on a sales qualified one, and it might be 30 people on a product one. And then you go, okay, well, which one is going to be the quickest route to market, which is going to deliver the highest level of value for the end user in the shortest amount of time, but also with the lowest level of inconvenience. Now, the reason I bring this up is really important. There's a lot of people that want our products and our services, and our products and services can help them, but there's a number of things that they are concerned with. One, that the product or service won't deliver their results. Two, that there's too many other people out there and they get caught up in the fuzz of, I don't know what to choose. 3, it's going to take too much time and I'm too busy. Or 4, there's going to be a degree of sacrifice that is greater than I'm probably going to stick to. Look at dieting, right? I'm someone who's always yo-yoed with my weight. And that's the majority of the time, is because normally I get promised something that's going to be a big crazy result. I get caught up on it. And then when my time gets in the way or the sacrifice gets too high, I give up. But actually, if I changed my lifestyle and I had something which was lower on a sacrifice, I'd set a mind target, but it's going to be a longer period to achieve those goals, I'm more likely to keep that going for the longer period. And on a subscription basis, that means you're going to get a higher ticket value once I become a paying client. Okay. So let's carry on. If you're looking at the moment of what to do with these 4 different areas, what we've got to think about is there's 2 key things, and I bring these up all the time, is first one, very basic level of sales and in marketing, is the AIDA principle. And this is attention, interest, desire, and action. What we've got to work out is when people are coming in at the lead generation stage, at what stage are they coming in at? On a marketing product lead, a marketing qualified lead, sorry, typically they're going to be coming at the early stage. You've put a post out there, it's grabbed their attention, grabbed a bit of interest, and they've gone, oh, I'll grab that. That's why most people don't do anything with it. With our product qualified lead, where they're coming in on a trial, it's further along that scale. And we're at the attention, the interest, and the desire, because they've signed up to a free trial. They physically have something, or digitally, in front of them and their business that they can start using right now. They've desired it so much that they now have it in their hand, or actually the digital version. Or with our sales qualified lead, most of that is going to come through where they've shown some attention, they've shown some interest, you've built the desire, you've gained the information, and they took a degree of action to sign up where they're going to get some degree of a phone call. When we've got it out, at what stage do we want to appeal to those people? If you're appealing to people now in the fitness space and you're trying to get people off the sofa, having something which is going to have their attention, you might want to do that. But we know a huge amount of those people are going to drop off quick. So actually, it probably makes more sense to have people on the free trial basis, on something which is a product qualified lead, where they are actually engaging, because if they can get some quick results, people are more likely to stick with it. If it breaks a limiting belief, they're more likely to stick with it. If they're going to see a progression in their business, in their life, in their health, they're more likely to stick with it. And that's why having something on the product qualified lead at that stage in your business makes a dramatic difference in what you will get. Because just marketing for it on a marketing qualified lead isn't going to have the stamp that's going to hold that person either accountable, break their limiting beliefs, or get them results. We all have those people that we see on social media and we love their account and we'll click on stuff and so we're curious. But there's a big jump before that to being at the stage that you think you would ever become a buyer. Now, the problem being, the marketing qualified leads, you don't really get any rejection. Your product qualified leads, you've got to go through and find out who of those are actually serious, which one of those you can get the right results for, and then which ones you actually want to work with under a qualified lead, or they're not, and you disqualify them, and then you take them out. And then normally on your sales qualified lead, you will get far less, but they are more likely to be a more serious contender for your product or for your service. And when you understand that part, this is when we talked the other week about affiliates. If they, at this point, when you go through to qualify further, if they qualify, then you can pitch them, talk to them, present to them. And if they are not, if they disqualify, you can then easily remove them from your atmosphere of your business, from within your community, because if you can't help them, the right thing to then do is to take them out. And actually, by having an affiliate side where you've got someone out there who, for example, a coach, say their budget, say they've only got £100 a month as a budget, and I can't help them with that. Having a coach out there that can deliver, that's great, good personality and all the other stuff, it is better for me to say to them, hey, we can't help on this, but here's John who can. And then John can have that lead. He's then got a sales qualified lead, which is far further down the line. I've got less people in my pipeline, less leads in my database, but the people that we have got are more likely to hand over money because they've got the value, they've got the intention, they've got the right needs of exactly what we want. So think about the areas we're at. Now, when you've got all of these in place, it's really important to then think, okay, if we're focused on marketing qualified lead, product qualified lead, or sales qualified lead, what are going to be the strengths for the ways that we follow up with these people? For a marketing qualified lead, huge numbers. Email's a great thing to do because we've got a vast amount of people. Hand-to-hand combat, getting on phone calls, being on Zoom isn't practical at this stage unless you're going to market to them to bring them through and then get them into a product qualified lead. Again, it's another stage. With your email in there, you might want to have that for your product trial where you're offering them upgrades, but because they've already come in as a trial basis, there's other areas that are going to be a better fit. Text messages for product qualified leads can be really effective because they're already within your community. They're already holding your product. They've already got your service. So they, in their mind, are a user of your product or service. They are just not a paid user yet. So what we've got to do at this point is have a dramatically high increase in impact with that person, with that business, that's going to drive them to the level they are confident and comfortable to take massive action and just take that one single step from I'm already using these products or services to going, I'm now prepared to pay for them because now I see such a reduction in risk. And that's one of the big jumps when you're on a product qualified lead, is when they have held it, touched it, felt it, used it, they then go, this is damn good. I need more of this. Or if it's a trial basis, on a product qualified lead, is in sales, it used to be called the puppy dog clothes. And what they used to do in pet shops would be the kids would come in, they'd fall in love with the puppy, and the parents would be like, yeah, we're not going to get a dog. And the owner would say, obviously it doesn't happen anymore. Why don't you take the dog home for the weekend? Bring him back Monday. No problem at all. We're happy. And then what happens? The dog's in the house. The kids have played with him for 2 days, got bored of him by the Monday morning. The parents have gone to take the dog back. They've looked in the dog's eyes and they're like, God, we love this dog. Because they are emotionally attached. And that's in the same way that the product qualified lead ends up happening. It's that next step. They've got the lead, they've got your product, they've got your service, they become either emotionally attached, physically attached, logically attached. And then once you've delivered, if you marketed in the right way, if you have X, you will get Y. And if you get Y, we can help you do Z. When you get to X and you get to the Y result, it is far easier to contact that person and say, hey, you took a chance to go from X to Y. We're now at Y, and you didn't believe that was going to happen. Imagine what could happen to go from Y to Z. And that's why the product qualified lead can be such a catalyst for your business. Because if you've got the fact and you've got the right way of delivering, but once they get your product or service and they become a lead, and you stop thinking them as a client on a trial, you think of them as a lead. And you think, okay, I now need to deliver to that person. Not just deliver, but over deliver on the product qualified lead. That is one of the best ways for you in your business, if you do it in the right way, to move them from a stage they are at as a lead into the next stage up, which actually becomes a paying client. Personally, for me, when you're at the sales qualified lead, you can have a far higher conversion than either of the other two. And this is outside of if you're going to have paid ads running to them. If you're going to do hand-to-hand combat, you're going to be doing it using some tools. If you have the skills, the confidence and the ability that's been developed, the sales qualified lead, you'll get a far higher conversion because you get to directly talk to people that are qualified sooner to a more precise level, but actually you don't end up becoming deflated. You don't become disappointed that you're talking to all these people and they're just literally never going to become your client. So focus on the fact of, if you get rejection, you really struggle with, a marketing qualified lead is good, but you need to have a real broad list. If you want to get people over the edge, if you've got such a great product or service, it's definitely going to give them a result. A product qualified lead includes challenges, free trials. That can work great. But you've got to make sure they're going to get the results so we can push that over the edge. So they want to take that leap of faith with confidence. Or developing the skills that you need to have the hand-to-hand combat, which is one of the areas that we specialize in, so that when people actually engage with someone, that they get the conviction, the salesperson, business owner has the conviction to fully immerse and execute with that person on the product or service, because you're going into that lead knowing that that person is exactly the fit that you need. You are the exact fit for them. So we've got a match made in heaven now. And what happens when we've got a match made in heaven? They get you, you get them. They understand what you're talking about. You use the language that they like. They like the way you approach things. You can talk from experiences in their eyes. And then all you've got to do is increase the conversion, increase the value, increase the know, like, and trust, and then convert those people to becoming long-time customers. Now, here's the big thing with your sales qualified lead. Sales qualified leads, from my experience, will typically upsell to higher valued products, upsells, far quicker than the other side. And here's why. If your first time your client hands over money, it's for a higher ticketed product. Say they come in at it's £1,000, and then to go to £5,000. Okay, that's a jump. If someone comes in on a free trial and then they come at your £200 product, that's a jump, because they already have a part of you under your marketing qualified lead that was free. So even if you've got them results for free, to jump from there to 10 grand to 5 grand is a lot harder to do. So then you might have 3 or 4 products that come through. So the upsell cycle is smaller on that stage. But when you've got someone where you have a sales qualified lead and you increase the value, the temperature, the thermostat so high on that first purchase, you set the tone for the longer term success. Rather than come join us on a free trial, let's get to the next stage, let's move forward. So if someone's in a high ticketed state, sale product, sales service, when you jump on a phone call, an interaction, a Zoom with that person on a sales qualified lead, instead of going in to actually sell that person on the lead basis, you don't. You're selling them on the lifetime value of being with your company, your services, the results that will last forever more. With our marketing qualified lead, you are selling the next step. Hey, just test this out. It's free. You've got nothing to lose. Hey, listen, we've done X, Y, Z. Why don't you do this? Hey, you've done this. Why don't you do that? So you've got to really think about, with what you're trying to do now, it might be a less painful experience to do the marketing qualified lead. But when it comes to the upsell point, if your product price is so much higher value, is that going to be a step too far for people based on the results they've had? So let's give an example. A marketing qualified lead, you come in a free trial. I help you go and close 2 deals. Those 2 deals are worth £5,000 with a 40% profit margin. Now you start thinking, okay, if this guy could get me 10 deals a month, that's going to make me another X amount of money. Paying 10 grand for that's fine. But if on that free trial, I'm only going to get a result which is at a value of, say, £100, right? But I could get 100 new sales. I've got to really have a conviction on my belief that the likelihood of that I'm going to achieve it, that I'm going to have the time to be able to deliver it, but I need a huge amount of my own effort and potential sacrifice to keep those cogs turning. And because I've got the free amount, it's very easy to go, oh, well, I'll just carry on where I am for now. So what I want people to do, the three main areas at the moment is thinking, what are the three areas that we are working on? What of the three areas am I going to focus on in the business, from marketing qualified lead, product qualified lead, sales qualified lead? Why am I going to focus on them? What's the pain point I'm going to fix? If I am choosing a marketing qualified lead just because I am uncomfortable in business, that doesn't mean it's the best service for your client. If I'm going to do it for the free trial, just because it's easier for me, that doesn't mean it's going to get conversion. And if you avoid the sales qualified lead because of the uncomfortableness and the rejection and the direct conversation of people saying no, that's down to your skills. And the reason I bring this up, we have to focus on the client, the customer, the results that they are going to need. It is not about what makes us feel warm and fuzzy. What do our clients need as the best client journey to get them to the results that they need in the fastest amount of time, with the highest likelihood of success, with the lowest amount of resistance, with the shortest amount of time? None of that has any measure on what we think or feel. Now, yes, if you don't have the skills, learn them. If you're not comfortable or confident, fine, I get it. But we can't expect to have it all our way and automatically get the highest graded results. So we do it our way, what we're comfortable with, but the other person who doesn't know, like, or trust us is automatically going to go, okay, cool, well, we'll do it your way. No. We need to work out, with a phrase before, when you can see through John Smith's eyes, you can sell what John Smith buys. So if you can see what their most likely way of becoming a paid client is, for example, I deal with a lot of high red personalities. They love to feel things are their idea. They like to feel that they're smart, on the ball, they're up to date, they know what's going on. So them coming in at a free trial, they also lose their enthusiasm really quick. So actually, when I get momentum with a client, I am far better to have them as a paying client. And once the momentum's there, we keep those wheels spinning. With a free trial, they come in and there's no urgency because there's no money in it, with no skin in the game. Yeah, cool, I'll get around to it. They've handed over 10 grand. They're like, I need to get some results. So we've got to work out with these three that we're working on, why am I going to choose each one of these? What's going to be the key indicators for my clients on which one they would rather have? And this is the final crux I'd say on this. What you think your clients would rather have and what the most likely that they will go for will often be very, very different. When we are lead generating, we will automatically assume, take for granted that the way they like to buy is the way we like to buy. Now, that's great if when you are lead generating, you are only targeting people just like you. Now, if you are only targeting people just like you, go and carry out a personality test. The Jordan Peterson one is really, really in-depth. There's loads that are out there. But for now, go and do one. Find out exactly what the results are, and then make sure that if I'm going to sell mainly to heavy yellow relationship-based people, but I am using the language, the lead generation, the tools, the mechanisms that's going to most suit those people. So, for example, having challenges, having a community, having a free trial where they can get to know you a little bit more, they can get to know the other people in there, can be a great way of doing it. But a lot of people go, oh, I know my clients so well. But actually, it's not. You're just comfortable doing that way because it's the basis, you're basing it on what you are comfortable with. But actually, we don't often know ourselves as well as we think. A lot of people do. But right now, if you are going to bet your business results on a certain strategy, instead of us thinking, okay, I'm going to go off and do X, go off and actually decide to go around and go, I'm going to look at this on the data. I'm going to look at what the stats say on the report. I'm going to go off and see what my personality type is. Or if you're not going to sell based on your personality type, break down the language, record yourself talking, look at it, get other people to look at stuff. Because we often spend so much time looking at it ourselves, but when we look at the lead generation, we see it from an expert point of view, with all our knowledge, all our experience, all of our time that we've been building it, working on it, creating it. That's very different than when someone looks at it for the first time. If you look at something and you're explaining it to someone and you go, yeah, but all you have to do is, that means that they didn't get it. If we have to explain to someone, yeah, but all you need to do is, oh, it's really simple. You've just got to, that means, but the way we're doing it right now isn't connecting quite right. Whether that's visually, whether that's verbally, whether it's auditory. So we've really got to work out, if I have to explain it to people, it's probably not working as well. Couple of quick tools you can use for this on either of these lead generation side. If you've got a landing page, a website, a tool, a lead generation magnet, use a heat map. There's loads out there. We've used one called Analyze, ANALYZZ.com. DM me and I'll tell you what it is. And what a heat map does, you add it onto your website, onto your landing page, and it will record your visitors' actions on your website. So I can watch a video back and Freya has been on my site and it will show exactly on, and it will say mobile phone, and it will show on the line where her finger touched on the screen, where she moved in real time. So you'll see them scroll, stop, zoom in a little bit. You'll see it. You'll see their finger marks on the thing. It's a crazy bit of kit, makes it feel a bit CIA. But again, when we're generating leads, if we're going through a sales qualification lead, product qualification lead, or marketing qualification lead, instead of saying we know what people do, have a heat map on your site so you have the data to see. And it is amazing to see someone's on your website for 2 minutes and you're like, wow, they're on there a lot. And on the heat map, it hasn't moved after 10 seconds. What really happened was they were on there on a desktop. They've probably gone off and made a cup of tea, come back and closed it. So they weren't even on your site. So your data was off. On the flip side, you've got a video at the top and everyone scrolls straight past it. Suddenly that video is it doesn't matter that it cost you £100 to get that video created. If no one's watching it, there's no point. If you get people scrolling all the way to the bottom to click on the buy now, sign up now, get now, whatever button, but they're not reading the text, is the text as valuable? Should there be a button at the top? So utilizing your heat maps is one of the most vital parts for this, because irrelevant of your marketing qualification lead, your product qualification lead, or the sales qualification lead, we have to realize that if we are going to go across country, we'd use a GPS. We would look at the data. We want to know the information. We want to know the stats. Our businesses, your projects, your job pays for the food that your family eats. It pays for the mortgage, it pays for the holidays, it pays for the clothes on everyone's back. And if we're doing something now because we think it's the right way, but we don't have the data, it is far easier for us to miss something. And then when we see it from another point of view and you go, oh, crap, that makes sense. Because the results that we have in our businesses right now is purely based off of the knowledge that we have executed on. So if someone out there now is getting more results from us, yes, they might have a bigger budget or whatever, a bigger team. But if they are getting more than you, they're doing something different than you. They're doing it in a different way. They're doing it, collating it in a different way. The words are slightly different. The layout's slightly different. The message that they're going through, or whether they're using product marketing or sales qualified leads, how that process goes through could be a slightly different avatar. So it's really, really, really important that we go off and we look at what we're trying to do. Which one of these are we trying to go into? Why are we going into those areas? Why would our clients want that area? And how are we going to then move them from that lead generation side to our end goal? And the end goal is the big part. because that's where your clients get the results. That's where your clients get their lives changed. That's when they get the most confidence, the increase in belief. That's when their sales team gets the best results. That's when human resources work together as a team. This is how we bring a group together. It's how they lose their weight. They add the muscle. It's by the end result product that you've got. And it's completely pointless, and you're letting your clients down if you don't have the lead generation in such a clear and concise way. But when they come into this, that they feel this is for me. He's talking to me. She's talking to me. They're talking to me. So what I want us to do is work out our 3 sides of what we're doing, why we're doing it, who we're doing it for, and how then we're going to navigate that and take that through to that next stage of when we can really conquer those leads. I need a drink of water.